Hello, CWLUniverse. We are here. We are back. We are back in action. We are ready to go. We are raring to go. It is the CWL Fancast, and I am here, your host, Jacob. I am here for the first time ever with my friend Charles. Charles, how are you?
How's it going? I'm doing well.
It is your first time on the podcast. How are you feeling?
It is. I'm very excited. I've been having a lot of fun with CWL these past few weeks, months even. I'm excited to be here.
It's a great time. I'm very excited to break down all the action, not just from Supremacy, but falling out of Supremacy and the two shows we've had since. And, well, we are going to dissect all the action for you right here on the CWL Fancast. We've got a third co-host with us today, a furry co-host named Lincoln. But he's fast asleep right now because it's a little bit past his bedtime. So we are going to let him sleep. He's not going to contribute much aside from maybe some breathing noises. But he's a good boy, and that's what counts. So starting off with Supremacy, let's dive straight in with this absolute banger of an opener. Two CWL legends going at it. We had BMS and John Spartacus opening the show for Supremacy 4. Charles, how'd you feel about this match?
I mean, just what a way to open up the night. This is just such genius putting this as the first match. These two have so much history. They absolutely tore the house down. It was just amazing and annoying that BMS picked up the win, but I'm somewhat glad that he picked up his first win in this very long and storied feud.
Yeah,
we had that very exciting video package as part of Supremacy that detailed it for those who might not have been caught up. It's just an absolute barn burner.
Frustrating, but historic and exciting. I obviously would have loved to see John Spartacus pick up that win. He's been carrying the flag of the CWL universe for just so long. The man's an absolute hero, and I was so happy to see him and BMS clash. BMS, ever since he made his kind of abrupt return to CWL, has seemingly been very fixated on targeting John Spartacus, kind of resolving this feud once and for all, resolving this rivalry, and he certainly seems to have taken a big step in that direction with this win over him, and the ramifications of that are huge. And this wasn't the only match where the ramifications were huge, because coming up right after that, we had the Best Enemies defending their women's tag team championships against the Hunt. And if the Hunt lost this match, they were going to be banished from Vindication. And that's exactly what happened. The Hunt lost, and pretty quick, too.
Yeah, unfortunate for the Hunt that they have to leave Vindication. They seemed happy on Vindication. But they get to go to Nemesis. Nemesis is also very, very good. Just like the rest of the CWL. And big win for the Best Enemies there. Not only did they retain their tag team championship, but also they proved that beating them is just one of the most difficult things for any women to do in the entire CWL.
Absolutely. I mean, the Best Enemies have established themselves as wrestling legends, tag team, icons. And though they seem to kind of hate each other, they have tag team chemistry like almost no one else, but we are going to have our fair share of tag team wrestling later in this show, so we're going to get to that as well.
You do gotta wonder if women's tag team wrestling is the future of the CWL, because this was a very solid match for me. Really enjoyed it.
It was incredible. And the tag team psychology that was on display here by Sarah Price, the way that she was just kind of dissecting Belle Florent and Tiffany Quinn, but especially Tiffany Quinn, and then just brought in the Black Rose, or Andrea as she used to be known, to just put in those finishing blows. It was really something, and something that I, am excited to see more of from the Best Enemies, because if they continue on this current track, it could be in CWL season 10, and they could very well still be the champions. They are just as dominant as hell right now.
I could definitely see that happening, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching them get more defenses in.
Well, after that, it was huge to see the Hunt go from Vindication to Nemesis, and we had a huge Nemesis match coming right up after that. It was Zach Anderson against Dr. Wrestling Jr., who was, of course, accompanied to the ring by Alex Clark. Dr. Wrestling Jr. and Alex Clark are both founding members of the Kingsmen. Zach Anderson, of course, firmly in the camp of the Fatal Vices, but there is a lot of history between Anderson and Clark, history which kind of bubbled over into this match.
You could see that history in this match. This match was, for me, definitely the match of the night. It was absolutely massive. These two put everything they had into this, and you could feel it throughout the entirety of the massive country of Russia. Everyone there was clearly into this. The crowd was going wild for it, and I've heard only good things about this match.
Very much so. A massive match for a massive country. One of the biggest, some people are saying. That's what my sources are telling me.
It is quite large.
Zach Anderson, of course, I mean, was just laying it in, nailing Dr. Wrestling Jr. across the jaw with those midnight elbows, but Doc was not intimidated, fired back with, I mean, just seemingly countless of those general anesthetics, those huge knee strikes, and he nailed a couple of those apple a days as well. But in the end, it was one of those huge killed in actions, the KIA driver, that enabled Zach Anderson to pick up that win. But after the match, things weren't quite done. Alex Clark, he slid into the ring, and he and Anderson had a little bit of a stare down. They were speaking some words to each other. I don't know what they were saying. I don't think any of CWL's microphones, pardon me. We're not CWL. I wish we were. Got close enough to hear. I'm trying to grease some palms, trying to get in at the door. I've been hanging out in the parking lot backstage. I yelled one time. I even got Harris to turn around, and he was definitely thinking about signing an autograph for me, but I think he was a little bit too busy. So I'm moving my way up the ladder.
Yeah, CWL should definitely hire us to do commentary.
Yeah,
and we get paid, and that'd be nice.
I would love a fat paycheck right about now. But regardless, I mean, look, it's looking great. Just guys, can you please just rate this podcast 5 stars and share it with your friends? Because that's the best chance we've got. I mean, we need one of those, what is it, MeUndies? We need a MeUndies sponsorship. Anyway, back to Zach Anderson and Alex Clark. They were saying some words. We don't know what they were saying, but in the middle of whatever exchange they were having, Zach Anderson just spun around and clocked Alex Clark with one of the nastiest midnight elbows I have ever seen in my life. And, I mean, it absolutely took him to the floor, and it just seems like things are not going to get better between these two old friends.
No, surprised to see that out of Zach Anderson. He's shown some self-restraint in the past, but...
Ever since hooking up with the Fatal Vices, man.
Yeah, something's changed.
He's turned into this, we've heard him be called and call himself, or I guess refer to himself, since he doesn't really speak anymore, the Silent Assassin, and he's certainly living up to that name with the way that he put down 2 members of the Kingsmen at Supremacy. And we go from a match of the night to...
the weirdest match of the night.
Something else. It was exciting to watch. It was really exciting to watch.
I had a lot of fun. I think everyone else did.
Yeah.
Definitely the match portion of this match was not the most exciting part. One of the shortest ladder matches, I think. Probably the shortest ladder match CWL has ever had.
I would go so far as to say the shortest ladder match ever.
In history? Yeah. It was like, what, a minute 30 seconds?
It was something...
It was not long.
It was Eback and Sergeant Hunter. Or, I mean... Sergeant Hunter with a big question mark on the end, because we'll get into that in a little bit, but of course, Eback had uncovered those medical documents of Sergeant Hunter's. He had found some secrets that Sergeant Hunter did not want getting out to the CWLUniverse, so those medical documents were suspended above the ring in a beautiful green briefcase. I mean, I would love to get my hands on that thing. I don't think it would be big enough for our podcast microphone, though.
Probably not.
No.
But it could fit the laptop.
It could fit the laptop, and that is important. So they were contesting. They wanted to climb up that ladder. They wanted to get those documents, and they did that very quickly. Eback climbed up the ladder, and he retrieved the briefcase.
You gotta say, interesting strategy here. Most of the time in ladder matches, you see the two wrestlers, the two superstars fighting it out a little bit before getting a ladder. But both of these guys, they just had the same idea. They just wanted to get a ladder, climb the ladder. Getting their hands on these medical documents was clearly very, very important to both of them.
This wasn't just a matter of a win and a loss. It was also a matter of, patient confidentiality being breached. So you can understand why these two felt so much urgency. But after the bell rang, signaling that Eback had, in fact, retrieved those medical documents, that is when the real excitement started. Sergeant Hunter, the man who had come to the ring as Sergeant Hunter, started to absolutely decimate Eback, put him through a table with a huge fire for effect, and I mean, it was big. And then Sergeant Hunter's music hit, and Sergeant Hunter ran down to the ring, despite the fact that Sergeant Hunter was already in the ring, and the two Sergeant Hunters began fighting, although the Sergeant Hunter that came down to the ring looked a little bit more like the Sergeant Hunter that we're used to seeing than the Sergeant Hunter that we've been seeing recently. And there are a lot of questions up in the air, and do you think we should just get to the end of this mystery right now? I mean, we've learned some secrets in the days since. Should we talk about that right now?
Yes, I think we should.
So it seems, based on what I have gathered, what the people have been telling me, what the Google searches have been returning, that this man that went into this match against Eback as Sergeant Hunter, the man that returned against Harris all the way back at Merry Mayhem, is indeed not Sergeant Hunter, but rather a man named Sergeant Grotto. a man who has undergone plastic surgery to make himself seem identical to Sergeant Hunter, right down to the very fingerprints. And now he seems to be impersonating Sergeant Hunter in CWL, but the real Sarge feels that this has been going on for a little bit too long, and he's come to put a stop to it.
Yeah, this is one of the weirder happenings, I think, in CWL in recent memory. You know, I remember I was watching this part of Supremacy, and when that second Sergeant Hunter, my mind just exploded. I think I had a mini stroke in there for a minute. I had no idea what was going on, but it's been a good time watching this storyline, this story play out.
My aunt's dog had a mini stroke. Did you know that?
I did not. I apologize for bringing it up.
Yeah, well, he's dead now, so it's not really that big of an issue. That dog was a biter. He's one of those like really ratty, like those tiny white dogs that only like suburban moms own. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, my aunt has one of those as well.
Yeah.
My aunt is very much a suburban mom.
He was one of those. Yeah, his name is Voodoo. Really weird dog.
It's an interesting name for a dog.
Not as weird as Sergeant Grotto, though.
No, Sergeant Grotto is very strange.
Yeah, why would you... I mean, I am very excited to learn more about the history between these two. From what I've gathered, I believe their relationship has something to do with when Sergeant Hunter was actually deployed. I think that they had some kind of combat encounter where they were on the same side, but I haven't really... We don't know the whole story yet, so that is going to unfold as the weeks go on. But up next, we had... If Zach Anderson versus Dr. Wrestling Jr. wasn't match of the night, this match certainly was. Pistolero versus Alex Graves for that Vindication Heavyweight Championship. This season has been monumental in the fact that we have seen so many people, so many legends here in CWL who the gold has eluded for so long finally managed to climb to the top. I'm talking about people like Pistolero. I'm talking about people like Connor Gates. I'm talking about people like Alex Perez. People who've gone for so long without a heavyweight championship around their waist who are finally managing to do it. And this seemed to be one of those moments for Alex Graves. Everyone was like, this is the season where legends finally reach the top of the mountain, and now it's Alex Graves' turn, and Pistolero was not having any of it. Tell me about this match.
I had fun watching this match. I think a lot of people did. With the exception of Pistolero winning. I have to say, the Dr. Wrestling Jr., the Zach Anderson match, and the BMS John Spartacus match, those two matches cannot be topped in this entire card for me. This match, though, very close in the second. It was just so back and forth, but Pistolero was pulled out a very dominant win at the end of the day. And this is the first win of the day for Starjammer LLC.
Yes,
of course.
We'll get on to
that later, of course, yeah. with the winner takes all match later in the day.
So one of the big notes for this match for me was just the amount of offense that Pistolero absorbed versus the amount that he dished out. I mean, it seems Alex Graves was firing on all cylinders, delivering those open graves, totally nailed him with that a couple times, and then just was just beating him down over and over again. All it took was Pistolero for a brief comeback and then hitting that cruiserweight killer to put the match down, and that was huge for me. Just showing how deadly that move really is.
Both how deadly that move really is, and I think Pistolero, when you demonstrate that you can take that much offense, that's really just a message to everyone else.
Absolutely.
You got to wonder at some point if Pistolero is just letting Alex Graves, who's hitting all of his stuff, dealing massive damage. Pistolero is just like, I can take this, and I know I can take this, and I can finish the match out with my deadly series of moves that I only have to hit a few of.
So I'm the person who introduced you to CWL.
That is true.
When I told you for the first time that Pistolero had the strength of 10 men, did you believe me?
I did not. I believe it now.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly, when I came into CWL as well, people were like, oh, that's Pistolero, La Fuerza, the guy with the strength of 10 men. And I was like, yeah. And then I saw him fucking wrestle. All right. And that's what we're talking about here. So that was just huge. And moving right along from one Starjammer victory to another Starjammer match, we had Starjammer LLC represented by Jay Scott and Rodrigo Del Gaiso teaming up with Raymondo versus Alex Perez and Anarchy Inc. And let me just take a moment to break down exactly what this match was, because it's a little confusing. This was the first ever winner-take-all match in CWL history. So for those of you who don't remember, Starjammer LLC went into this match as tag team champions. Raymondo was the third man on their team, backing them up. They were going up against Alex Perez, who had the Nemesis Heavyweight Championship. and they were partnered, of course, with the former champions, or Alex Perez, he was partnered with the former champions of Anarchy Inc., of course, Jacob Nitro and Brian Adams, who were using their rematch clause to get another shot at those tag team championships. But with the stipulation of this match, whoever scored, whichever team won. So, for example, if Alex Perez's team won, he would retain his championship, and Anarchy Inc. would become the tag champions. But if Starjammer LLC's team won, they would retain their tag titles, and whichever member of their team scored the pinfall or submission, that person would become the Nemesis Heavyweight Champion. Now, Charles, I want you to tell me, how did this match go down, and how do you feel about it?
A little angry about how, obviously, I was pulling for Alex Perez and Anarchy Inc., like I think everyone else was.
Oh, absolutely.
But, Starjammer LLC and Raimondo, they picked up the win with Rodrigo Del Gaizio. He got the pin there in the end, and therefore becoming the Nemesis Heavyweight Championship. And really kind of makes my blood boil that Starjammer LLC won this. I hate everyone in that. But you got to say, this match was a remarkable match.
It was remarkable that it happened, and also remarkable in the action. And look, one thing, I'm not happy. I'm not happier about the ending any more than you are. But I think the thing that really grinds my gears about it is that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Rodrigo Del Gaizio pinned Alex Perez clean in the middle of that ring. And that was one of the things, is, that was, I think, I was going to definitely point out, is, for example, Rodrigo didn't have to pin Alex Perez. He could have pinned Jacob Nitro and still would have become heavyweight champion. And that's definitely something where I would have called foul. I would have felt like Starjammer was manipulating the circumstances there to give themselves a more favorable advantage. But Rodrigo didn't just take out anyone. He took out the world champion. And now he is the one with that belt around his waist.
So as I recall, this whole idea for the winner takes all was actually Raimondo's idea.
Yes,
right?
I believe so.
He brought it to Jay Scott, the leader of Starjammer, when Jay Scott and Rodrigo were faced with the prospect of having two matches on Supremacy. So it was Raimondo's idea. I think that's why it was so weird.
Yeah.
Raimondo is a weird guy. And therefore he came up with this weird, strange, bizarre idea. But you gotta say it did really, it didn't work out for Raimondo, but it definitely worked out for Jay Scott. He took advantage. He took the advantage when it was presented to him, and his team ran with it. And Rodrigo's the champion because of it. And really, that's to the annoyingly clever thinking of Jay Scott and Starjammer.
I agree with you on most of that, but I will say that for Raimondo, he doesn't come out of it with the world championship, but he does come out of it with a win over three of the most legendary competitors on Nemesis. These are three members of the former Disciples. One of a group that absolutely tore apart CWL when it was active. And so Raimondo to get that win on pay-per-view, no less, it's certainly not his ideal outcome, but it's definitely nothing to go home crying about. No,
for sure. And this was maybe Raimondo's best shot at the title that he could have gotten in the moment. And it was a good idea to come up with it, and I'm excited to see if he does something with this massive win that he's gotten.
We go from a massive win to a massacre. With Holly Quinn and Marilyn Benson in that 20-minute Iron Woman match. It was 10 Holly Quinns versus 10 Marilyn Bensons.
I would pay money to see that.
I would pay all my money to see that. It was a 20-minute Iron Woman match. I was about to say it again. And the final score here was 7-3 in
just
the favor.
An absolute blowout.
Oh my god! Just like. It was honestly, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it was pretty rough to watch. Especially if you were pulling for Marilyn Benson, which I very much was.
Yes, me as well. But Holly Quinn, 7-3, you just got to say that's absolutely massive. Holly Quinn just utterly crushed it.
Love her or hate her, she just is so damn good. Marilyn Benson, she had a great opportunity here. She was not able to fully capitalize, which is really unfortunate. But we make history here with Holly Quinn being the first ever 2-time Supremacy Cup winner. That is huge.
You got to say, with Holly Quinn's such a dominant performance, though, Marilyn Benson even getting those 3 pinfalls really shows what a good competitor Marilyn Benson is and how she earned her way here. Because she definitely earned her way here. She earned her spot, but Holly Quinn was just on the ball with those 7 pinfalls. But Marilyn Benson definitely did a good job, and I'm excited to see what she does as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing that kind of sticks in my craw, if you will, is when I look back at the Marilyn Benson that went into this match versus the Marilyn Benson that we saw at the beginning of Season 4. I just think, could that Marilyn Benson have won this match? Because I don't know what's happened to her over this season.
I agree with you.
She's had a real fall from grace, and I just hope that she's able to figure... Maybe this will be a catalyst to help her get back on her feet, because I want to see that Marilyn Benson that we saw crushing opponents who were challenging for her Openweight Championship.
Yeah, you got to say, at the beginning of Season 4, you're not thinking that Marilyn Benson's going to get blown out in a Supremacy... in a 20-minute Iron Woman match at Supremacy, but thinking that she's going to get there at the beginning of Season 4, like, yeah, like, that's an easy choice for me. But you're right. I really, she needs to get back to where she was, and I'm pulling for her. I hope she does.
Well, finally tonight on this night I should say, we had the Battle for Supremacy, which I was ecstatic for. I was so excited about. It was really huge, and sorry, I was just making sure that we were still recording. We have had one or two technical issues in the past, so we're just trying to patch that up. Anyway, sometimes you're just like sitting doing nothing and you just have that irrational fear flash in your brain. But let's talk about how this match went down. We started out with Matthew Ramirez and Chris Princess. Am I correct about that, or am I?
I believe so.
Or was Matthew Ramirez number 3? I'll keep talking. You pull up the match.
Chris Princess was definitely
Chris Princess was certainly number 2. I'm going to say with a reasonable degree of confidence that Matthew Ramirez was number 1. We had 2 purple boys starting this match out. And it was crazy. We had appearances from a lot of great people. We're not going to run down every single entrant because that would be a waste of everyone's time. You all saw that match. We're just talking about our favorite parts. We had some really notable announcements coming out of it. So one of the big things that we saw was... what are we looking at here? Oh, here we go. We're about to find out the third entrant. Was it Jasper?
It was Jasper Star.
Was it Jasper Star? Yeah.
Yes, Jasper Star was 3rd.
So we had some great faces. We had some great names. We had every member of the Crimson Dragons, I want to say.
I believe that's correct.
And every single one was thrown over the top rope. There are so many of them. There are so many of them, including now Jasper Star, who he's seen the light. He's come back to the side of good. I don't know what caused it, but I'm glad that it's happened.
You gotta say, with the sheer number of people they put into this match, it's somewhat shocking that they didn't do better than they did.
But, we also had a couple of other big names. We had several members from the backroom dealings, including Eli Evans, Golden Mask, and Cairo, all of whom were sporting armbands in memory of Bobby Slam, who has, of course, unfortunately had to take an extended leave of absence from CWL due to injuries sustained by Chris Edwards. Or caused by Chris Edwards, sustained by Bobby Slam, pardon me.
Yes. Grammar. Stay in school, kids.
Yeah. Grammar usually is one of my strong suits. Although, my big strong suit is commas. Love a good comma. You know how much I love commas.
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
How much you like commas.
I love them.
I prefer a good semicolon.
I despise semicolons.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
But there was a lot of people who despise each other in this match. There was a lot of people who were willing to fight, and some great surprises as well. In fact, 3 big surprises. 3 people.
3 Genesis competitors.
3 Genesis competitors showed up, one of whom is no longer a Genesis competitor. Should we start with him, or should we start with the others?
Let's start with Blade Coleman. I know everyone was excited to see Blade Coleman in the Battle for Supremacy. Absolutely wild surprise. Entering at number 6.
I was not there live, because obviously I do not have the money to fly out to Russia. But we were watching live on pay-per-view, and I have never heard a roof come off a building like I heard the roof come off for Blade Coleman that night. There was not a person in Moscow or around the world watching who did not jump out of their seats when they saw that iconic mask over Blade Coleman's face as he stalked his way to the ring. I mean, that man, he's, the only thing to say about it is that he's from hell. What do you say?
From hell?
Yeah, he's from hell. He didn't win.
It's hard to win from number 6.
It's very hard to win from number 6, especially when you're tossed out by Ricky Valentine?
No.
Are you sure?
Ricky Valentine entered at 15, I believe.
Pretty sure he was tossed out by
Ricky Valentine entered at 14. He might have been.
Oh,
irrelevant.
No. Tossed out by Michael Young.
Yes, that's correct. Which, Blade Coleman, even though he's from hell, Michael Young he's Michael Young.
And he's from Down Under.
Yeah, he's from Down Under, basically the same thing. Sending everyone from Australia.
Also, we had Shelton Parks. Shelton Parks, who danced his way to the ring and danced his way immediately back out because he was clothesline. Was that the fastest ever Battle for Supremacy elimination?
I don't know. You're much more of a historian on the Battle for Supremacy eliminations than I am.
It would be hard for it to be any slower because it was literally immediate.
Yeah, it was immediate. He got in the ring, knocked right back out. Oh boy, that was a damn shame.
Hey, you know what?
I'm a big fan. I love his dancing. I love his entrance. I love everything about him.
I love him. He's so good. He's just such a good time. And
I did see a smile on his face after he was eliminated.
Well, you know, I was looking at his Instagram after the match, even during the match, and he was having a good time. He took a selfie on his way back up the ramp, just with a big smile on his face. He was just happy to be there. And you know what? God bless him.
That's what matters.
What a man. What a goddamn man. But we had another name.
Third Genesis competitor,
yes.
Former King of Genesis, Carl Stone. Entered at number 15. So.
I know you have mixed feelings about him. You don't like him very much. Is that correct?
What?
Yeah, you hate him.
Yeah, the only Carl Stone. Oh, yeah, no, Carl Stone's the best. Go away. Carl Stone, though he had a short tenure as King of Genesis. I'm very excited, and of course, the big news for this for Carl Stone is that he is Vindication's newest superstar as of Supremacy.
Yes.
Though he did get knocked out by Rookie Valentine in less time, I think, than he wanted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure he wanted to win.
Everyone wants to win. Sadly, only one person can.
Yes.
Imagine if 5 people could win Battle for Supremacy.
And
that would be a weird world.
Let's get on to who that one person was. So we came down to the final couple of people. We had Samuel Black. We had Johnny Gemini. We had Tora Khan. We had someone else that's slipping my mind, who I remember I wanted to win.
Well, before we talk about who wins, we should talk about Griteri entering at number 30. I popped to see Griteri at number 30 because I like the design of his mask, but he got eliminated in a minute and 23 seconds.
Oh my god.
Big waste of an opportunity for him.
He's got to be kicking himself right now. Oh my god. I mean, to come in at number 30, you're coming in at literally at a huge advantage over your other competitors, and just to go out that quickly, I mean, especially with the run Griteri's been having recently, I'd be very embarrassed.
I mean, he's been crushing things. He had 2 wins over Ricky Valentine.
Oh,
that's
huge.
Legend of the company. That's massive. Yeah, when he entered at number 30, I was like, God damn it, Griteri is winning this match. And then he got eliminated. It's like, yes, he got eliminated.
He's been such a bastard recently.
He really has.
Anyway, I hope he snaps out of it, but it came down to 2 people that I think everyone was very much on the side of one of them, and everyone was very much not on the side of the other. It was Johnny Gemini and Tora Khan, and I mean, the idea of Johnny Gemini winning, he's shown up and just taken Nemesis by storm. He has done so well in his opening kind of few months here on the main roster, and he just couldn't get it done against Tora Khan, the beast Tora Khan.
Yeah, it was a shame, because Johnny Gemini, he's got that intangible.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot. I like everything about him. I think if I had to describe exactly why I would have a little bit of trouble with it, I just love him, and everyone else kind of does too.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's him facing off against Tora Khan, like, yes, Johnny Gemini, he's gonna win. And then he was knocked over the rope.
I mean, especially considering Tora Khan, he's had this huge reputation, very hyped up as the beast, the man that Damian Morgan has seemingly transformed into, and he couldn't get it done against Ken Warlock. So I was very surprised to see him win this match here.
I agree, but you got to be excited for the battle for Supremacy winner. It's huge, no matter who it is.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm, interested to see who Tora Khan challenges. But I agree, also, definitely a surprise.
And speaking of who Tora Khan might challenge, we, of course, coming out of Supremacy, we have not 1 but 2 title challenges kind of hovering over our heads. We have the winner of the Battle for Supremacy, Tora Khan, of course, and then we also have the Supremacy Cup winner, Holly Queen. Holly Queen has already made it very public that she is going to be challenging for the Openweight Championship at Endgame. Of course, who that Openweight Champion is still up in the air, considering that Sheila will be competing for it this coming weekend, actually. Very exciting. Against Lady Britannia, who... fucking love Lady Britannia. She's so great. So that was big, but Tora Khan has really kept his aspirations to himself. We do not know where he is going.
Yeah, have you heard any whisper of where he's?
No, he has kept it. He has kept all of his cards extremely close to his chest. No one knows, although he is on Nemesis, and considering that J. Scott and Rodrigo Delgado hold both the tag team titles and the Nemesis Heavyweight Championship, I'm sure they're kind of shaking in their boots at the idea that Tora Khan might be coming for them next. But we really have no idea where he's going. I think maybe once the picture clears up after Jailbreak, once we kind of know where all the titles are going to be going into Endgame, Toro Khan might make his decision then. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's kind of the fallout, the immediate fallout from Supremacy. Let's go into the shows afterwards. Is there anything you want to discuss in these next couple matches? I know that a certain something that happened in a women's match got you very fired up.
I think we should start with the cash-in, just because it's the most significant thing to happen.
We're not going to talk about all these things. We're just going to talk about a couple of important bullet points, and I would say this is the most important bullet point of all.
Absolutely, I agree. Selena went in saying that she wasn't going to cash in by surprise, but then she did. But the ending, which was the double count out in 10 seconds. And of course, CWL is unique and has the 20-second count out. So seeing a 10-second count out, I gotta say, has that ref been fired? Because he should have been. I don't know what happened. Why the management isn't more angry, why that ref hasn't been fired. I've heard nothing about that. Everyone should be angry about this, and I don't know why people aren't more upset.
So here's what I've heard. I've heard that Jada King's manager, Alex Mercer, was in the backstage area and told the ref that they were doing a 10 count. Like, he got a hold of a headset and fed the ref bad information. He said, like, there's a 10 count for this match. And so that's who's actually at fault here, not the referee. The referee was just following orders from backstage. Because, wrestling's wrestling. All kinds of things can happen. Things change on the fly all the time. If the ref heard there was a 10 count, he might as well, he had no way of knowing that was bad information. He didn't know that it was Alex Mercer. He just knew that someone in the back was telling him what the difference with this match is. So I think, Daza Dundee, he has done a great job as one of CWL's best referees. And, he had a little slip up here, but I don't think it was really his fault.
Maybe, but you gotta think, you're a ref, you get that call that it's been changed to a 10 count. And you don't question it. Maybe that's a sign of a good ref, that he listens to management when management tells him to do things. And we like the CWL management around here. But, should Jada King be punished for that? Should Jada King's manager be punished for that? Who's getting punished for this?
Absolutely. So I think the consequences of this should be twofold. One, security needs to be tightened up in that backstage area. Because also I would say in recent weeks we've seen a lot of beatdowns, a lot of assaults back there. So I just think generally the security presence there needs to be increased. Additionally, I would definitely like to see punishment at the hands of Jada King, perhaps a rematch with Selena Adams. Although, of course, Selena Adams would have enjoyed a huge advantage, was enjoying a huge advantage due to using that Gold in the Bank briefcase. I mean, Jada King had already had the absolute crap kicked out of her by Scout McKenzie, who won with that submission hold.
You gotta wonder if it isn't a little bit of Selena Adams' fault. I know that we've as we've established, we have this 20 count, but she maybe she shouldn't have taken it to the outside there. That's kind of squandering this advantage. She could have just gone for a pin early.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely huge. I guess the fallout for that, exactly what we're going to see with that, will be discovered as we continue along and we get more information. But there is something else that I want to talk about, which is we're coming up very quickly on Jailbreak. It's just 2 weeks away. And one of the things that we've learned about Jailbreak is that we have 2 huge chamber matches. One for the Vindication Women's Championship and one for the Vindication Heavyweight Championship. We had 2 matches, or we've seen 4 matches so far. So we know 5 competitors, because we know Pistolero is going to be in it.
Naturally.
We also had Isaac getting a win over Griteri. Griteri not able to redeem himself after his abysmal performance in the Battle for Supremacy.
You got to feel for Griteri, though. He loses Battle for Supremacy really fast, then he gets absolutely destroyed by Isaac.
By one of his own faction members.
By one of his own, a faction member, a friend. I really hope he can... if he doesn't come back, I wouldn't mind. But for his sake, I hope he comes back from it.
And then we also had Alex Graves getting the win over Zyro. He wants another shot at that Vindication Heavyweight Championship, so he will be in the picture. And then on the next show, we had Jasper Starr getting the win over, Flapjack Carter. And Harris getting the win over Zistro, meaning that so far Jasper Starr, the only member of the Crimson Dragons to actually be in the chamber. And Charles, why don't you break that down for me? In the meantime, I'm going to pull up the full list of competitors for the women's chamber.
So I'm excited that 5 spots have been filled. I'm curious who the last spot is going to be. I don't really know who's slated to have another qualifying match, though I have been told that they're all going to be determined by qualifying matches. If that information ends up being false, I apologize. But I'm a big fan of these chamber matches, and I'm genuinely very excited for this. Not really sure who to root for. Who are you rooting for of the 5 who have already been selected?
It's a tough call for me, but I gotta say Alex Graves. I really thought that he was going to have his crowning glory moment there at Supremacy, and so I'm really hoping that he can get a little bit of redemption here at Jailbreak. He's a man who has gone uncrowned for too long, and I'm really hoping he gets his hands on that gold in just 2 weeks. I have now pulled up the full list of entrants for the women's match, so I'm going to rattle those off for you right now. We have got Rox, of course, the champion, defending against Yui Nishimura, Danielle Wright, Valencia, Black Rose, and Catherine Love, and stacked
Absolutely
to the max.
Stacked.
There goes not a single one of those names that is not a superstar. The only person I would say who is, the only person who the 2 people who have come into this season as not, fully made CWL legends, minted and made already, are Yui Nishimura and Danielle Wright, and they have had a monumental rise to fame. Danielle Wright has made a hell of a name for herself as the spoiler. She has been putting down women left and right. She's a certified badass.
That's true. When I heard that it was just going to be announced who was going to be in the chamber, I worried that the management wasn't going to necessarily stack the card. And, the way the men's chamber is working with people earning their spot. But, I don't see a single name on this list that I don't think, they've all earned their spot here.
Absolutely. It's a real who's who of the Vindication women's division. And however that match goes down, it's going to be something to remember for sure. The only other match that we know for Jailbreak is Starjammer LLC defending their tag team championships against the Broken Standard. Starjammer LLC prevented having to have an additional title match by winning against the Backroom Dealings this past week. They seem to be going into Jailbreak with a full head of steam. That being said, so is the Broken Standard, as they got a huge win over... Hold on, I totally forget.
Phil X and Max Shearman.
Phil X and Max Shearman, 2 members of the... pardon me, I was going to say 2 members of the Crimson Dragons who can't buy a win, but Max Shearman is your reigning YouTube champion.
That's true, and Phil X picked up that win over Carl Stone, his debut on 441, I believe.
Absolutely, that was pretty unfortunate.
Well, yes, that was unfortunate. I was looking for Carl Stone to win, but Carl Stone seems to have catapulted that into the other announced match for Jailbreak, which is Carl Stone versus Ricky Valentine.
Yes.
But we can talk about that in a second. Broken Standard versus Starjammer LLC is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah,
I really hope that they can win because
the Broken Standard.
Yeah, I don't like Starjammer LLC.
Yeah,
Would you rather see Starjammer keep winning titles and holding on to this absolute reign of dominance that they have?
Look, I guess it's kind of like a lesser evil situation because
yes, it is absolutely what it is.
Okay, well, in that case, yeah, you're right. I would definitely prefer to see those titles off of the waist, the obnoxious waists of Rodrigo Del Gaiso and Jay Scott. Even though I'm not really a big fan of Bronson and Brubble, they're bullies.
Well, they are, but here's the issue for me, is that Jay Scott is also a bully. And his entire faction, they have too much stuff. They have 4 titles now?
They might have 4
titles, excuse me. So they're shooting at 4, they're looking at 4 titles. They're within breathing distance of 4 titles, let's say. And that's just too many. That's just too many for this absolute bastard of a faction to have. And if Broken Standard does win, it's going to be hard for them to lose it because they are a formidable, strong, hulking tag team. So maybe it would be a bad thing if they won, but they're sure to burn the house down.
From a less, we're definitely speaking from a biased point of view because we definitely have a very certain way that we want this match to go down.
That's true.
But objectively speaking, this is going to be a hell of a match. You've got the dominant power of Brubble and Bronson versus the kind of quick technical ability of Scott and Del Gaiso, and that's going to really be something to watch. Let's move a little bit more into Jailbreak speculation now. We know that we're going to see Ricky Valentine versus Carl Stone, but we don't know exactly how that match is going to go down. It seems like Carl Stone has some kind of idea for how he wants to go about it, but he hasn't really let anything on yet.
Well, we know Carl Stone called out Ricky Valentine because Carl was upset that Ricky Valentine eliminated him from the Battle of Supremacy.
Yeah, threw him over that top rope.
Threw him over the top rope. And then we saw on 442, Carl Stone knock Ricky over a top rope in turn to try and get some of his mojo back as he was upset that he lost to Phil X. But other than that, we don't know anything about it at all. And the rest of the jailbreak card is really a mystery. But the things that have been announced are just looking to be awesome.
Suffice it to say, we're tremendously excited, and I think that kind of wraps up everything that we have to say at the moment. So I guess we'll catch up with you guys after jailbreak.
Worth noting, there is a lot of stuff we haven't talked about on 442 and 441, but
That's true.
They're stack cards.
We had to devote most of this time to Supremacy, but we did try to cover some highlights from the week since as well.
Go watch them; they're a great show.
Oh, absolutely, fantastic! Definitely recommend. But that is going to be all for us from us for the moment. Charles, you want to say goodbye to the people?
Goodbye to the people.
And I will also say goodbye to the people. Goodbye to the people. See ya.